the happier you are, the more likely you are to get married. So there's an effect that happens even before getting married.
According to the statistics, if you believe them, right, the number of millennials that think there's value in getting married in a traditional way versus cohabitating or living together or any of these other arrangements is quite low. Question is, what is the cost to people who choose to not get married but merely live together?
You know, I recently read this study, they call it the marriage effect. And what they've proven is that couples who are happily married live longer, are happier, more satisfied and content, and they heal faster. And this is opposed to couples who are just in a committed relationship. So if you're together for 20 years and you haven't taken sacred vows, you do not get any of the marriage effect benefits at all. And in fact, men, single men, die 7 years younger than happily married men. So there's actually health benefits. And then another part of the study is that children who grow up in a home where the parents are legally married do better on every level: health, education, socializing, all of that. There's benefits to getting married.
I think just to piggyback on that is there's an interesting point also that the happier you are, the more likely you are to get married. So there's an effect that happens even before getting married that's important to focus on, because sometimes the focus is on hitting that end goal, right? Getting to the marriage, and then we'll have all of these wonderful benefits. But you can actually facilitate that if you are good with yourself, find happiness within yourself, have your hobbies, have your fulfillment, you know, with you, and you're more likely to find a mate.
Right, and you're so much more attractive too.
And you're so much more attractive.
That's right.
Realistically, because the divorce rate is so high and it is so costly to have divorce, and the concept of people kind of starting to get married around 20, 25, and then staying married with the same partner until they're 80 and 90, it's becoming lower and lower. It's probably the reason where at the beginning stages of life, people are just maybe cohabiting. Or if they really want children, they're getting married because they want to have a space for that marriage. Or they go with this, you know, Cinderella syndrome and this concept of fantasy and jumping into one and coming out, the high cost for divorce, and then they decide not to. So those are some of the reasons which are real, and we cannot forget that that is the cost of marrying, divorcing, marrying, divorcing, marrying, divorcing. And that's probably why cohabiting in some sort has been more beneficial for this group.
Or more of a selection. So it sounds like there's benefit, but then there's cost if you jump into it and you don't do the right thing.
I think that you said something about taking a sacred vow. That's very different than taking a legal contract. And I think many people confuse the two, because many people will go and have a wedding in a church because the script tells them you go and have a wedding in the church. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're spiritually invested. And that makes a big difference too. So I'm interested in what you have to say about that.
Well, you know, I think that I'm sort of combining the two. So I'm seeing a wedding and a marriage that is both legal and sacred. And it doesn't necessarily have to be spiritual. I mean, there are plenty of people who devote themselves to each other, but maybe atheists. So when I say sacred, it's meaning like, you know what, I'm committing to you with my whole heart and soul. I'm gonna love you. I may not always like you, but I'm gonna love you on a daily basis. I'm gonna make that decision, that choice, and I'm gonna use those behaviors of love even on the difficult days.
Does it have to be public?
I don't know. I've never thought of that. I would imagine one witness would be important just to sign the legal documents, but I think it's what you do heart to heart, soul to soul that really counts.
I think it does too, because I see people marrying for the wrong reasons. They're marrying to get a tax break. They're marrying at the end of December.
Or a green card.
Or a green card or whatever. So I think we have to be really more depth in this conversation to find out what really is a sacred vow, to whom, and where does this take place.
It might be that in this generation, the 21st century, people could start with dating, becoming exclusive and really being together, starting to live with each other so they experience what it is to be in that type of a contract in that type of a setting where they're sharing more and more, because in these stages we keep sharing more of ourselves as to structure and finances and family structure, and then get married when we really know that this is a person we want to commit ourselves for the rest of our life. And this way, it's easier to keep the marriage because we've gone through stages really choosing that this person is the one we really want to commit for a long time to.
So this discussion about whether or not there's a reason to get married, there's obviously a marriage effect. I think it takes someone who's incredibly mature to be able to think through their own fears, what they've seen, how they were raised, and to make a decision that's to their greatest benefit. And especially if they want to bring children into the world, you really have to think about marriage and whether or not that is going to be the best decision for you.